Hello all, this is Edita, and today I am with Richard Field, who is going to say a little bit more about the topic which many of you have been asking about. What is Skytap? But before we will go into the main part of the interview, Richard, for those who don't know you, could you briefly introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Hi, Adita. Hi, everyone. My name is Richard Field, and I work for Skytap, now part of Kyndryl. I work in the alliances team, and I've been with Skytap for around 4 years and come from an IBM Power Systems background. So at the moment, I look after all sorts of sort of partner relationships and Kyndryl relationships and help with education.
Okay, thank you so much. And for those who may not be familiar, how would you describe Skytap, but in a very simple terms?
So Skytap is a public cloud service for IBM Power Systems, IBM mid-range, however you want to term it. So the what some people would term as legacy, we prefer the term specialist. The workloads which can be really sticky and difficult to move out of the data center into public cloud. We provide a public cloud service in Microsoft Azure, where those workloads like AIX and IBM I AS400 can be located alongside existing hyperscaler functions.
Okay, and if you could tell me what makes Skytap so unique, but compared to other platforms?
Adita, I think what makes Skytap what it is the fact that we have that relationship with the hyperscaler cloud. So we can not only deliver a very flexible consumption, subscription-based self-service, just like you would if you were in a hyperscaler cloud for commodity workloads, we can deliver for power, but it opens up all sorts of opportunities for other services within the hyperscalers. There isn't another service which is quite like that. Of course, there's other people providing more of a sort of cloud function, but not within a hyperscaler where you can get all of the other web services and AI and advanced DevOps and modernization and so on, all sort of on your doorstep within the same tenancy and subscription. That's probably what makes Skytap unique, not just the flexibility of having that public cloud, but where it is.
I have one more question. So, how would you say what challenges are customers facing that Skytap is able to solve?
I think there's a number of challenges. I think many customers are looking to just sort of exit out of data centers, but I think there's much more to it than that. I think what a lot of customers are seeing is that the way that their workload demands have changed over the years. They need something much more agile, much more utility based, much quicker to deploy, and to stop using. So they need something that's more flexible. And on-premise infrastructure in a data center doesn't provide that kind of flexibility, and cloud does. So, people are seeing, systems running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They have peaks in demand, they have troughs. They need that agility, and they also need to be close to the cloud services which their business are starting to use. AI we mentioned, of course, but there's lots of other things as well, around security, for example, and resiliency, which become really, really important and are easier to achieve in the cloud space, particularly with Skytap and our proximity to Azure.
Okay, so it's not only about getting rid of the legacy power workloads, but it's also about the possibilities which we are gaining from the cloud, for example, Microsoft Azure, yes, like you said, AI, or for example, the security and other things like that, right?
Absolutely, yes. And what customers are starting to see this as part of a journey, from that old sort of legacy view of the systems of record that sit in the corner to something which is core to their business but taps into lots of other functions. So it's part of a stepping stone towards modernization, whether that is modernizing the way that the customer delivers their infrastructure to modernizing the way that the application is delivered, ultimately into the adjacent services which that opens up for them.
And what about the cost? Because some people are saying that, Skytap is expensive. So maybe it's better not to go into the cloud with Skytap, but stay on the legacy data center and just, stay with the cost which they had already.
Yeah, I mean, that is a good point, and it is something that we often hear. I think what I would say to that is that you've got to think not about the cost of on-premise versus the cost of Skytap, but more about the value of cloud compared to the limitations of keeping things as they are. So, there is a value to having that flexibility and agility and proximity, which can be really important. There can be significant cost savings from going to the cloud because of the granularity of what we can provide, and also just because of the speed with which we can deploy compared to the time that it takes to stand up physical boxes. So yes, we do get that. I think you have to look at it in a slightly different way and say, what does this bring me? Sometimes the advantage for the customer is that this is subscription based, so there isn't the hits every, say, 3 years of a capital expenditure. So that can be material for a business from a cash flow point of view.
Yeah, and also the cost of the data center is one, yes, but there are also additional costs which you are getting rid of.
Yeah, absolutely. The costs for having on-premise infrastructure don't stop just at buying a server every few years.
Exactly.
You have a data center, you have to pay for power. That's very expensive. Cooling is also very expensive. It takes energy. There's maintenance costs, there's support costs, etc. A lot of people, they don't see those. They're kind of hidden and secret, but nevertheless they're there. So I would say that the sort of total cost of ownership of cloud is competitive with on-premise if you look at all of the costs and consider the value of what you are gaining by running in that more agile manner.
Yeah. And if someone wants to learn a little bit more about Skytap, what do you think? Where should they go? Where should they start?
Well, certainly there's some good resources on the Skytap website and on the Kyndryl website around Skytap. There are good resources also in Azure about this service. I think you need to do your research, about use AI to understand more about cloud. Always a good place to go. Or talk to us here at Skytap, and we can tell you a little bit more. Of course, our service is intended to be sort of self-service. You should be able to just start using it, but of course you may want to talk to somebody about, how do I do this, how do I do that, what's the advantage of this, that, or the other, in which case come and talk to us and we'd be happy to help.
Okay, Richard, so thank you so much for sharing your insights with us and helping us better understand what the Skytap is all about. And of course, if you would like to learn more about Skytap, we'll share some links and resources below, so you can click on them and start your research. And of course, feel free to connect with us, so you can use either direct message option, or you can just comment the video below. And thank you so much for watching us. I hope to see you next time. Goodbye.
Thank you. Goodbye.